Check 1, 2. There you go. It's not very loud. It sounds okay for you guys though. Check 1, 2.
Check, test, test, testing, 1, 2, test, test. Test, test, testing, 1, test, test, test. Testing, 1, 2, test, test. Test. It's so quiet. It's so quiet. Let's see. Yeah. Can you? Oh, let's see.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, if anybody is getting my audio.
1, 2, 2, 2, 1. It's on. It's on. It's on. I can hear it. Hi, Scott with Fox 9. Is there any way just to get a little more level?
Is it on?
It is. I hear it. Is there any way to get any more level?
I'm gonna change the microphone.
Now, I've got plenty of level.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Now, we were getting plenty of level.
Oh, were you? Let me go check it. Just do a regular mic check.
All right. All right, you ready? Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you're good now. He's good. He's good.
Sorry, what did you need?
No, we put it up here just to check it, so we'll put it
Okay.
back down there.
They're gonna hold that.
Oh, they're going to hold it?
They're gonna hold that.
Will you walk over here and hold it too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
Otherwise,
gonna hold that.
Hey, we're here at the Capitol. Hopefully we'll be talking soon. Can you hear? It's just one.
You have to hold it. You have to be close. You
Okay.
can't talk from a
Is he
distance.
going to hold it?
I hope so.
Mic check. Does this sound okay? He's going to have to hold the mic.
Johnny. Good morning, Minnesota. Good one Minnesota morning. So, first off, we're going to thank the pride of Minnesota, the Gopher Band. Thank you all. Well, to each of you who came out here and you look around, this crowd looks an awful lot like Minnesota. That is a diverse, vibrant group of people. From the farms of southern Minnesota, the mines of northern Minnesota, to the high-tech factories of Minneapolis-St. Paul. Our economy is diverse because our people are diverse. Our economy is strong because our people are strong. And our state is kind because our people are kind. 2.5 million people showed up last November and cast votes. They made a choice. They chose hope over fear. They chose inclusion over exclusion. They chose personal freedoms over totalitarian dictates from government. They chose science over conspiracy. Above all else, though, they chose action over gridlock. There are too many thank yous for the groups who are here, but I'm going to try my best because I think all of us understand. Those voters in this democracy chose people who they felt exercised wise judgment, compassion, reflected their own lived experiences, and chose hardworking people to come to the Capitol to not use talking points, to not try and demonize others, but to dig deep into the things that could improve people's lives. And democracy is hard. It's really hard. And we found out it's not all that hard to derail it. What is hard is to hold coalitions together with very broad. When I say one Minnesota, that doesn't mean we're all the same. It means we work across differences to create a place where all of us can thrive. And to do that means compromise. And I have to tell you, history will write the story. I keep hearing about this. What's this going to mean? Well, we'll find out. We're pretty sure it's going to mean a fairer, more inclusive, better, and more prosperous Minnesota. But to get those things done, took incredible leadership. And we have two of who I think will be remembered as two of Minnesota's great leaders in this. Speaker Melissa Hortman and Leader Carrie Dietzig. I know in our administration we have to get consensus out of a few of us here. That's a lot harder than getting consensus out of individuals who bring incredible passion, incredible experience, incredible wisdom, and craft that into something that you can get the number of votes for. Time and time and time again. Remember those at the beginning of the session who told us they'll never hold a majority of one together. They will never do the things to protect reproductive rights, to protect our trans children, to protect our environment, to make sure we have a more inclusive economy. They told us that wouldn't happen. Don't tell them that couldn't happen because they just showed you it can. And to these legislators, they came out of their jobs, teaching, nursing, small business owners, and they said, raised their hand and said, I'll go to St. Paul and I'll bring your voice. Whether that is from Grand Marais or whether that's in Mankato, they said, I'll go there and I'll make our passions heard and I will get it done. And they were asked at times to take votes that others said are really hard. And time again, they said it's not hard to vote your conscience for what's good for your people. It's not about banking political capital for the next election. It's about burning political capital to improve lives. That's what they did. That's what they did. No more productive. It will be proven no more effective members have ever sat in this chamber and did the work than this group you see right in front of you. So thank you to each and every one of them. And one of the things I learned early in life, the trick is to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And I've always said that's a big pool to choose from for me. So I surrounded myself, starting with our incredible Lieutenant Governor, to be there to provide the voice. And next week on June 4th, see, I did not forget, we will celebrate 29 years together with my partner and my bride, the First Lady. So thank you. And then the folks who have to put this work into action, who are going to make sure that Minnesota's best in the nation Paid Family and Medical Leave Act is enacted and all people can take part in that. The people who do that work are the commissioners you see up here with them. The 24 people these are people that stepped out of their lives to serve. And I want to give a huge thank you to Senate President Bobby Joe Champion in the Minnesota Senate. For all their work, but for especially recognizing what 4 years previous that these incredible public servants were put through. They were drugged through the mud. They were blackmailed. They used a simple confirmation process to try and destroy lives and hold up state government by removing people from office or simply not voting on them or threatening them or sending people to their homes. That's not how things work. And because of the Minnesota Senate, that will never happen again in Minnesota, and confirmations will happen. And there's a group, you don't see them much, but folks who know how this stuff works know that the teams are in those rooms doing the work out of our office. The Minnesota Governor's Office actually has one of the smallest office staffs of all the 50 states. But I will make the case, they are the most productive, hardest working, and effective staff that you will see anywhere across the country. That team is led by someone you don't see there, but everyone here knows is in every single important decision. My Chief of Staff, Chris Schmitter, has been with me. So. He's assisted by our Energizer Bunny, Patrick Tanis, if any of you ever see him. And folks out there will know, never ending, a hard worker. And then I just want to say, our policy folks who worked hand in hand with these legislators to craft legislation that can work, Leah Montgomery. So Leah. Every child in Minnesota is going to have breakfast and lunch. Every single person will make their own health care decisions and reproductive rights, and abortion services are protected. My friend Kelly is here, who brought me a picture, if I recall right, from 1987, advocating for our school support workers, bus drivers, folks who cook the meals for our kids, are laid off in the summer with no money in many cases. Kelly rallied for over 30 years. They'll now be receiving their rightful place by being able to receive that pay this year. And while Minnesota had a surplus, we're going to make sure we use it wisely. Families can receive up to $1,300 this fall so they can buy back-to-school clothing, whatever they see fit. But more importantly, Minnesota is going to enact not just a nation-leading, but a global leading child tax credit that will reduce childhood poverty faster than any place else. And people ask me, what are we going to do with the surplus? Denise Speck, we're going to put it behind our teachers so they can educate our children the way they should be. And when we make these decisions and we move, and the folks up here, I want to thank on this, Leader Long and others who worked on this. We're going to move Minnesota to the forefront of a clean energy economy that is going to spark job growth. And just be clear, and we see them out here, all of these good union jobs have built the middle class and built Minnesota. It is going to continue that way. So to our union sisters and brothers, many out here who have fought these fights for decades, be very clear. Had those 2.5 million Minnesotans not shown up last November, we would be standing here today signing right to work. We would be standing here today signing 6-week abortion bans. We would be standing here defunding our schools. We would be standing here making it easier to put firearms in the hands of people who should not have them. But guess what? Elections have consequences, and we're not doing that. So for each of you to witness this, we talked about in Minnesota, the Minnesota Miracle in 1973, almost 50 years ago to the day. And it was really focused on making sure education and our littlest Minnesotans were taken care of. It transformed an agrarian, cold agrarian state into a leader in innovation. And it brought living standards up. It brought life expectancies up to near the top. It brought happiness levels up to near the top. What we're doing today, and I've heard people say, and we'll figure out how they're going to name it, but if this is Minnesota Miracle 2.0, the difference between then and now is we're saying today we're leaving no one behind. We're leaving no one behind. So a champion who's been at this from her time at Children's Defense Fund to the school board in Minneapolis to a legislator in that house to now our nation's first Indigenous Lieutenant Governor. Please welcome Peggy Flanagan.
Woo! Welcome to your house. Welcome to our house. Welcome to the house that all of us built together. We are here on the front lawns of this Capitol, and as the governor said, this looks like Minnesota. And after this last election cycle, the folks who serve in this body, in the House and Senate, look more like Minnesota too. And I want us to remember that that's also why we've had some of these big wins this session. That our democracy thrives, our democracy functions better when it accurately reflects the people that it seeks to represent. And so we don't need folks who say, I wonder how this community feels, because those communities are now at the table in a major way. To be really honest, I couldn't have imagined this day. I couldn't have imagined all of these victories and wins, especially for our littlest Minnesotans, especially for our families who live in deep poverty. I couldn't have even dreamed it. But because of the incredible work of folks who have been organizing for years, people who dreamed hard, who dreamed big, we are here, and we are here together. This has been a session full of great days, full of jaw-dropping days of what we were able to accomplish together. But this day is one of the best days. And today is a celebration not only of the work of the last 5 months, but it is a celebration of the last several decades of organizing. And I want to make sure that we tell this story, that there are folks who have been coming here year after year, cycle after cycle, demanding that we take care of our children, demanding that we fund our schools, demanding that we ensure that we have the right to make our own decisions about what happens to our own bodies. So it's not simply that a magic wand was waved and all of these things happened. That is an illusion. It's the same as saying that one day Rosa Parks simply was tired. There were decades, there were years of planning and organizing and infrastructure that was built. And many of those leaders who are on the front lines of this organizing work then getting elected to implement these laws. And I will tell you that that is what we see here in Minnesota. That is the difference. That we have played the long game and we won. Years of rallies and marches, of hope and of heartbreak, of promises made. Minnesota, today we are leading with our values. Minnesota, today we are leading with our values and we are delivering on those promises. We are building a state and a future that our children deserve. Frankly, that all children in this country deserve. But we are going to lead by example here in Minnesota. And to those folks who have lost hope, who feel alone, whose hearts are breaking, look to the north. Look to the north, because we will not stop fighting until everyone in this country is seen and heard and valued and protected and believed. So make no mistake, this work doesn't stop at our borders. We are going to continue to be an example and to be in solidarity with folks all across this country who want what we have been able to achieve in partnership here. And there are so many good things in all of this legislation that was just passed. But I want to focus on two before I wrap up here. And the first is universal meals. As that kid with a different colored lunch ticket, I couldn't have even imagined that we could get here, but we did. And we did because people were willing to tell their stories. We did because of the social worker in Maple Lake who told me about a home visit and why this policy was needed. Because when she did this home visit, the children in this home were eating crayons because there was no food in the house. We are done with that, Minnesota. We are feeding kids. And then the governor mentioned it, but it bears repeating. This child tax credit. Senator Rest, you put together a heck of a bill. And Representative Gomez, so did you. Too often when we talk in politics, we talk about the middle class, and it matters. The middle class matters. But we don't talk enough about people who are living in deep poverty, and we must. Because when our children who live in poverty have access to resources, and we increase family income, we improve child outcomes, and that is the future of our state. So this child tax credit will lower child poverty by 1/3, y'all, 1/3. Now, we have more left to do, but this has been incredible. And the organizing work, the love, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the late nights, the stories, it all matters. So if people have begun to lose faith in democracy, look to Minnesota. When we show up, when we vote with our values, when we say that we are going to take care of each other, when everyone is in and no one is out, it matters. And these are the results that you can get. And let me tell you all, I love my job. And I love being in this work with all of you. And one of the most incredible people that we have watched, who is a pillar of strength and strategy and compassion and kindness. And it's just tough. We have watched her leadership in action. And it is my great honor to introduce to you our Majority Leader, Senator Dietzich.
Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing? So as the Lieutenant Governor said, my name is Carrie Dietzich, and I have the honor and privilege to be the Senate Majority Leader. I am proud to be here today with Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, Speaker Hortman, and with so many of our House and Senate colleagues who are behind me. And I got to tell you, we are a team. This was a team effort this year. It was a team effort to deliver the policies and budgets that will truly make a difference to the lives of millions of Minnesotans for decades to come. In the past several days, the accomplishments of this legislative session has been described as transformative, historic, and consequential. But the makings of those accomplishments started way before January. In the past year, the Senate DFL knocked on over 500,000 doors. We held hundreds of community meetings, and we had thousands of meaningful conversations with people all across the state. Many of you helped in those efforts. Minnesotans told us they were tired of gridlock and inaction, and they wanted leaders who would get things done. We listened. We told Minnesotans that if they elected a new Senate DFL majority, we would be ready starting on day one, and we would be ready to work with them, with our House colleagues, and with Governor Walz to break through the gridlock and pass legislation to improve their lives. I believe as the governor signs these budget bills today, we delivered on that promise to listen and lead. Minnesotans told us they want an economy that works for everyone. They want their rights protected, their freedoms expanded, and democracy defended. Sorry, I need my notes. They wanted us to lower costs so that they could afford their lives, and they told us they want safe communities, strong schools, and a healthy climate. We heard Minnesotans, and those are the priorities we worked for all session long. During the session, we brought Minnesota voices together from all parts of the state, from all points of view, and from both sides of the aisles. We started this session with record budget surpluses, and we are now giving it back in many ways to Minnesotans. You will see the largest tax cuts in Minnesota history, including more than $3 billion in rebates, Social Security tax cuts, and a transformational child tax credit that will cut child poverty, as you have heard repeatedly, by 1/3. That's huge. You will see it in the record investment in our schools that will lower class sizes, cut special education costs, and address the school mental health crisis. And, as Senator Gustafson said, we are enacting a lunchbox tax cut that will... It will keep money in the pockets of Minnesota families every week and ensure that students do not go hungry. As the surplus flows back to Minnesotans with transformative investments in infrastructure, transportation, child care, health services, and free college tuition. You will see thousands of new jobs, revitalized economies, and healthier communities throughout this state. And this budget will hopefully fix those potholes. Our budget looks to the future. With carbon emissions posing the #1 threat to the health of our planet, we put Minnesota on a path to 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. In doing so, we are restoring our state as a leader in fighting climate change and clean energy jobs. And that is a legacy worth delivering for our future generations. Our budget invests hundreds of millions of dollars in nursing homes so that seniors will get the quality care they deserve, and those workers who help them will have the wages that will sustain them and keep them on that job. We have the most diverse Senate caucus in the history of the Minnesota Senate. We represent small rural cities, suburban communities, and the urban core. And we have 10 senators of color. Yep. We have the first African-American Senate president in Senator Bobby Joe Champion. Give him a big round of applause. And in case you didn't notice, we had a little outage in the last few days, but that didn't stop us, and that Senator Champion masterfully kept us running in our karaoke session. We also this year elected, finally, after 150 years, the first 3 black women to join the Minnesota Senate. Yep. Senators Erin May Quaid, Claire Umar-Rayton, and Zainab Mohammed. This diversity made us look more like Minnesota, and it made us stronger. With just a 1-vote majority, our diversity forced us to have real discussions and listen to each other, and listen to those on the other side of the aisle to forge agreements on the issues as we move them forward to ensure they work for all Minnesotans all across our state. In the past 5 months, we made historic progress for Minnesotans, but we understand our work is not done. In the coming months, we will continue to talk to Minnesotans about other ways we can continue to improve their lives and this great state. I want to thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to our continuing partnership. And next, it is my honor to introduce a great partner. She has been a great mentor, and her help and her advice in keeping this team together. And again, all of us in the House and Senate, DFL, we were a team because we had a goal. And our goal, and we stayed laser focused on that goal, and she helped us do that with her incredible leadership and strength. And so it is my honor to introduce the Speaker of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman.
Good morning. It is a very beautiful day in the great state of Minnesota, and for, I think, the 3rd time in my 20 years as a legislator, we are done on time. Last November, Minnesotans entrusted DFLers with full control of Minnesota government. They were clear that they wanted to see action. They wanted us to invest in public education, make health care more affordable, and build an economy that works better for everyone. Minnesotans were absolutely clear they wanted us to protect reproductive freedom, take climate action, address gun violence, and strengthen our democracy. Thanks to their voices, this legislature made historic and transformational strides in all of those areas that will make a positive difference in Minnesotans' lives for generations to come.
We made massive investments in public education of the kind we have not seen in this state since the first Minnesota Miracle. I was fortunate to grow up in Minnesota after the first Minnesota Miracle, and we bragged, rightly so, all over the country about the educational excellence in this state. And we've been coasting for too long, so it was time to double down and bring the Minnesota Miracle 2.0. We froze college tuition and made it free for families earning under $80,000 to go to college. We capped copays for drugs to treat chronic diseases, and we put ourselves on a path to a public option for health insurance. This is the team that finally got paid family and medical leave across the finish line. After a pretty long debate in the House and a 15-hour debate in the Minnesota Senate, over which Senate President Bobby Joe Champion presided the entire time, we protected reproductive freedom through the Protect Reproductive Freedoms Options Act. Young people can believe in getting involved in campaigns again because we took meaningful action on climate. This is a group of people who is passionate about making sure that people have access to the basics, and that means food when they're hungry and a roof over their heads. This is the legislature that delivered historic investments in housing and food supports in the state of Minnesota. I'll never forget after the Sandy Hook massacre in December of 2012, when we started a trifecta, 2013 and 2014, I thought we would be able to do something on gun violence. I thought that that tragedy would be the catalyst to make change. Finally, here we are, after too many tragedies later, too many suicides, too many mass shootings. This is the legislature that enacted common sense gun violence prevention bills. And after a national election in 2016 that had way too much foreign meddling and an attempted coup by violent insurrection on January 6, 2021, this legislature protected our democracy and strengthened people's rights to vote. Politics is a team sport, and it took all of you doing the work on campaigns for years and years and years to get us here. Many of these folks, as the Lieutenant Governor said, have been involved in politics at different levels for decades, as activists, as concerned parents. And the team that you have elected to serve in the legislature in 2023 and 2024 is a team unlike any I've ever worked on. It has been my complete joy and honor and privilege to have a partner in Senate Majority Leader Carrie Dietzick. And at the governor's inauguration, he was inspirational. He and the lieutenant governor set out a vision for the state of Minnesota, that this would be the best place in the country to raise children, and we would finally make a deep dent in childhood poverty, and we have done it. Special thank you to our incredibly diverse and strong Minnesota House DFL. You embraced the LFG energy we needed from the first day, and that's what carried us through and got the job done. So many people did so much, but one of my favorite teams of the whole session was Senate Tax Chair Ann Rest and House Tax Chair Aisha Gomez and their fantastic bill. As Minnesotans, we share a trust to recognize that those before us have invested so much to create the wonderful state that we have now. We have an obligation to our children and our grandchildren to make sure that it is strong for the generations that will follow us. I grew up bragging about the Minnesota that the first Minnesota Miracle created, and it is my hope that children today and into the future will grow up bragging about the incredible state we have because of the investments we're making this year. Thank you so much for being here, and with that, I think the governor's going to sign the best budget in 50 years.
There we go. Should we put this back on the table? Can we move these on the table? All right. As we prepare to sign, I want to give a couple more thank yous. The way our government's set up, we have constitutional officers who stand in front of all the people of Minnesota, and they have very specific jobs. One of those is our state auditor, Julie Blaha. She plays a key role in looking after our pensions of our public employees, making sure they're safe and secure, and does great work. The next is all of us. Until I got into this job, I never knew I needed a lawyer. You do need them. The good news for Minnesotans is we got the people's lawyer, Keith Ellison, in there. And you heard a lot about it. None of this is possible if we lose our democracy. None of this is possible if voter suppression happens, voter intimidation, all of the things that were out there. We have simply the best champion and guardian of free and fair elections in our Secretary of State, Steve Simon. So, and in Minnesota, we do this together. We do it with partners. And in Minnesota, we're setting the tone. We have equal partners, partners whose land we stand on, partners who were here before any of the rest of us. Our 11 sovereign nations make Minnesota the great state that it is. So to each of them. And my final personal thank you to all of the folks who are state employees and work in state government. It's pretty easy to complain about that, but you don't hear anybody doing it in the middle of a blizzard. You don't hear anybody doing it when you're saving lives. You don't hear anybody doing it when you're getting clean water and all of those things. And so I want to send a big thank you to those who have chosen public service. You might not make as much money, but I'll tell you what, you impact lives that more so than you'll ever know. Thank you, state workers. And as this budget unfolds, that the work that they did, each and every Minnesotan is going to think about this. Now, there's going to be some, and we heard them talk about it during this session, that ask, what's in it for me? This group said, what's in it for Minnesota? And everybody's going to take something a little different from this. Historic investments in the outdoors, in our lakes, our rivers, the DNR. And then just think about it, and I'll put this. There are countless things in here that improve those lives, but this group up here did something that no other state, I don't think, can claim that they did. Everybody in Minnesota has access to health care in this state, and that is a testament to theirs. So thank you all. Let's sign it.
Wait 1 minute, please. Okay. Waiting for the drone.
Okay.
Yep. All right, you can sign. Yeah.
Can we have the leaders?
Yep. Come on up if you want, legislators. Okay. Okay. I need a minute. I think you can sign it. Okay, let's do it. All right.
Minnesota workers.
All good. Let's sign it. Yep.
We've been waiting for this fight. One of the bills that he's signing right now.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you. We'll have you scooch back for a photo. Okay. We're going to do a photo with everyone on the steps. Sorry, can you back up a little bit? Thank you. All right. All right, look straight ahead. Got all our photographers.
You got it.